today we're going to talk about the special challenges of adopting children in the early years, so the under fives, and what there is to especially consider for those children. I'm sure many of you, if you're thinking of adopting, will actually adopt an under five. So my first point is that children under five develop really quickly, and so what you can find is when you're presented with the paperwork, you read everything that you think is happening, but when actually you come to the process of adoption, that child has already moved on lots and lots of ages and stages. So it's really important to ask for up-to-date information before you properly consider the adoption of this child, because so much may have changed. Things may have improved drastically if there were behaviour situations with them, or things may have deteriorated, but what you need to know is the here and now. Number two is that during the time of 18 months to about 2.5 is when naturally, developmentally, children do start having separation anxiety anyway. So before I did this, I was running a chain of 8-day nurseries, and what would happen is in the room where we had the 18 months to 2.5 years would always be the most difficult room for children to be separated away from their parents. And so it's going to be exacerbated, isn't it, if you're adopting a child around that age. So there'll be a lot of natural tendency to have separation anxiety if you end up adopting a child between the age of 18 months and 2.5. So my third point is they're obviously going to be developing speech really quickly, and they're developing concepts within the brain which link real things to speech up here, and so they would have already started to build their concepts wherever they were before. And so it's really important that you backtrack and double check that you're understanding what it is that they're meaning by certain words and how they've started to develop their speech. You may have to roll back a little bit so that you are on the same wavelength as them, and that you can then help support their speech and communication development. My fourth point is, with this age child, more so I think than older children who may display their natural behaviours much earlier, is that this age child will aim to please when they first come, and you may well have what we call a honeymoon period. So the honeymoon period can last for a few weeks, a few months, not normally a few years, but with a younger child, I do think they will try and aim to please you. They don't really know what's going on, and they've suddenly had a change of home. So you may find that things are really good to start with, and then things deteriorate maybe as soon as a few weeks after they move in. That's quite normal, but obviously it can be distressing for you as an adopter. You start thinking that you're doing things wrong, or that the child's not bonded with you. In fact, when they start to show their true behaviours is when the child is trying to bond with you, but it doesn't feel like that at the time. So my fifth point is more about how to kind of structure things for the under fives, because the under fives really need routines. Everything is built around familiarity and routines for them. That's how they learn. That the tighter the routine that you can have when they first come, I think the more success you will have more quickly. The child needs to know what's going to happen around bedtime or meal times, or if they're going to go out somewhere, then it's going to be somewhere familiar. And my sixth point is if you're having lots of issues with your adopted child when they come, the win-win situation is lots of sensory experiences. And when I say that, that could be something very simple. So water play, sound play, Play-Doh, anything where they're using their hands. Not only will that help them with their communication and language, but it helps get rid of all of that energy and anxiety that they may be building up. And as they're expressing things through their hands, they can then get rid of some of that anxiety. So that's just a tip to help you. So I hope you enjoyed that. There's lots of other playlists on my channel around babies, questions that adopters can ask, Q&As, bonding and attachment, and adoption and parenting. There's so much on there.